Well, thank you very much. As you know, I'm under a gag order, so I can't really answer those very simple questions that you're asking. I'm under a gag order. Nobody's actually seen anything like it. But we talk about subjects we're allowed to talk about. Would love to not be in the gag order. I'm the Republican nominee for president. I'm leading in every poll, and I have a gag order. So I think it's totally unconstitutional, and we'll test that. This will be tested, because this should never happen to another candidate or another person, what's happening here. And today we had a very good day in court. You see what's happening. And you'll have to report it because I can't talk about it too much. But I think it was a very, very good day. The voters are getting a John McLaughlin, probably #1 poll number with Fabrizio. John McLaughlin is probably the #1 pollster. And voters are getting it. And they don't like the idea that the courts are deciding the presidential election. Well, so far my numbers were leading by a lot, as you know, against crooked Joe Biden. Charlie Hurt, a great person, great reporter. The problem for Democrats is that the extensive polling now shows that the voters see through their scam and don't like what's going on. Watching 100,000 enthusiastic people gather along the boardwalk in New Jersey Beach this Saturday, as you probably saw, to support former President Trump on Saturday evening gives you some idea how terrified Democrats are of Trump. Well, I'm not saying it, that he's saying it. I don't think they're terrified of anything. They're fascists. Whatever happens, they cannot face him in the fair and honest election. There's no way anybody else is going to beat Trump. And they're using election interference to try and do it. And he then goes, because they lose and they know it. If it's a fair election, basically he's saying they lose and they know it. Jeff Zeleny, CNN. As I talk to the voters across the country in these battleground states, many of them aren't paying attention. The reason the president is having trouble, President Biden is having problems, is because young voters, voters of color, and inflation. Young voters, voters of color, and inflation. That is a problem for Biden. Byron York, great person, great reporter, journalist. For months, Democrats had hoped that the specter of Trump on trial would cut into the former president's support. Now we're in the 5th week. Can you believe I've been in here for 5 weeks instead of campaigning? It's a shame, which of course is their dream. It might not be working out the way they anticipated, but that's what they wanted to do, keep me in here as long as possible. Now we're in the 5th week of the trial with wall-to-wall media coverage, and it appears to have not affected Trump's support at all. The Real Clear Politics analyst, Sean Trende, wrote recently, the political science literature is pretty consistent that this is the time when the electorate's views are about the election, and it starts to harden, and basically they're saying we're doing really well. You're seeing all the polls. Alan Dershowitz, a great gentleman. This is election interference at the most obvious, and every American, no matter whether you're on the Trump team or against him, whatever political affiliation it is, and he goes on to say he's a Democrat. He can't be right about everything because he's making a big mistake. If you're Jewish and you're a Democrat, and that includes Alan Dershowitz, you ought to have your head examined. You see what's going on with Israel. But he goes, I'm a Democrat. You should be equally concerned about how the legal system is being weaponized and abused for partisan purposes. Remember this. All over the world, they're watching this trial, and they're seeing what a disgrace this is, and a big disgrace to New York. You know, I love this state. I love this city. And they've got to get it back. They've got to get the legal system back, because businesses are leaving. People are fleeing, but businesses are leaving because they can't go through what I'm going through. Speaker Mike Johnson was here a little while ago. He says, just apply common sense. Take a look at what's happening. Just apply common sense. A great gentleman, Victor Davis Hanson, none of the 5 civil or criminal cases currently lodged against former President Donald Trump, by the way, all going through Washington. This is all election interference by Biden. Have ever had merit. None of them have had merit. these criminal and civil trials are merely the continuation of extra legal efforts of the last 8 years to destroy a presidential candidate in lieu of opposing him in a transparent election. Enemies like China and Russia now boast that America's new political prosecutions are similar to those of their own system, and even more so. That's Victor Davis Hanson, and he goes on with a beautiful statement, and I won't bore you, but the public isn't bored by him at all, and they agree with him 100%. Let's see, any president who would go through the justice system, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's a disgrace what's happening. This is something that shouldn't be happening. Tom Fitton. I've carefully tracked the at-real Donald Trump trial up in New York. The prosecution, in quotes, prosecution meaning persecution, hasn't presented any evidence of a crime by Trump whatsoever. Judge Merchan is, well, he says very negative things about him. I don't want to say that about the judge. I'm not going to say that today about the judge. Matt Whitaker, former acting attorney general, I'm deeply concerned about the trial in New York targeting President Trump. It's very unfair, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Brett Tolman, gag order is a tool utilized to protect defendants, rarely if ever applied to one side. They've never seen anything like this gag order. You haven't either. And hopefully you will never again. It's never seen before. It applied to only defendants. You have a constitutional problem without ability to say anything about your own case. I am not allowed to talk about big portions of my case. And nothing like that's ever happened. They're allowed to talk, the other side, but I'm not. Governor Doug Burgum, who was here also. Many politicians were here today, many congressmen and senators, etc. You met some of them. We know from the polls that President Trump is leading all over the country, and the conclusion is that the American people have already acquitted President Trump. I believe that's true, and I believe that a large portion, 80-some-odd%, say this trial is a disgrace. And so are the others, by the way, if you look at the way they're going. Take a look at what's going on in Florida with deranged Jack Smith. He got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He got caught doing things that you're not supposed to. That's why we call him deranged Jack Smith. He's a deranged person. Representative Byron Donalds, terrific young congressman. This is a travesty of justice. Look around New York. New York's got a lot of issues, and he talks about the issues. We have people being killed right outside, and yet we have 20 prosecutors sitting over there for what most people, almost every single legal analyst says, no crime. There's no crime. But we've got all the DAs in there, and they say it's no crime. Corey Mills, this is nothing more than election interference at its finest. The American people see the sham indictment for what it is. So that's it. Look, the trial is going very well. It's the 4th week. I've been stuck in here for 4 weeks. I call it the icebox. We call it the icebox. Now, today, this is what they should be looking at right here. That's what they should. This is called our new wave of crime, migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime because he's allowed probably 15, 16 million people into our country having no idea who they are. Many are from prisons and jails. Many are from mental institutions and even insane asylums. They're emptying out all over the world. They're coming into our beautiful USA. And this is a man just charged with the death of a 3-month-old baby. This right here. This is what we're allowing into our country. No checks, no nothing. And then on the economy, interest rates are rising at a rapid rate. And inflation is going up very, very powerfully. And if you know what inflation really is, it's a country buster. Inflation over the last, if you look over 500 years, you look at countries with inflation, they're busted. They bust up countries. And that's what we have. We have record inflation, and it's back. And people are dying because of it. You would have had no inflation with me. We were down to practically nothing. You have record inflation, and it's back, and you have very high interest rates. People can't buy homes. They can't buy anything. They go for food, and it's 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% more than it was just a couple of years ago. So that's a shame. We'll be back tomorrow. Again, we had a very good day. I think we're exposing this scam for what it is. Thank you very much.